Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you to attend this session about the future of the Mediterranean destination. Well, it's a great honor and a great pleasure for me to welcome 4 senior panelists to talk about these topics, representing 4 famous companies. I will take 2 or 3 minutes to introduce them. And we say honneur aux dames in French, so ladies first. So Maria Zaraluki from Melia Hotel International. Why are you there? For sure, because you are a representative of probably one of the leader hotel group in the world. And more than that, you are probably the leader in terms of resort hotels managed by your company, not only in Europe, but we will stick on the Mediterranean destination today. Maria, you joined the company a long time ago, I would say. Okay, in 1999, something like that. Okay. And if we have to talk about the news about your company, which is linked probably to our topic, you announced, I think, end of last week, that you arrange a sale and management back in a partnership with Starwood Hotel Capital, selling 7 hotels, I think all located in Spain.
Exactly.
Okay, to be refurbished, extend, I don't know, and well, happy to hear some more detailed news if you want. Then I go through the alphabetic list, talking about Julien Renaud-Perret on the right side, representing Aman Resort. As you know, Aman Resort was founded by Adrian Zeca in 1988. Okay, you own part of the 28 resorts, but you all manage them. I will qualify your product as well top small luxury resorts and hotels. And there is one specific component of your strategy. It's, I would say, very frequently a mixed use. It's an hotel development, one that's the first component, and you have a second component, which is more a real estate villa to be sold. I hope we will learn more about it in a few seconds. Then, following the alphabetic list, Club Med, represented by Gregory Lanter. Sorry about one word. I didn't mention your experience. You are with Aman Resort for a short period of time, but you have 20 years of experience, having worked for Euro Disney, Club Med, and Orascom. So Club Med, as you know, Club Med invents in 1950. I think the new concept, which was finally all-inclusive holidays everywhere in the world. You are now probably the leader, managing 70 properties, Village Club, in a very, very detailed definition. I need my note to give them to the audience. You are the specialist of upscale, friendly, multicultural, and all-inclusive holidays. That's right? Okay. You joined the Club Med in 2004, and you are the head of global development and construction. So we will see during this panel that for tourism destination, real estate, construction, something which work well with the development side. Dolphin Capital Partner, represented by Yanis Emilios, who is the director of Dolphin Capital Partner. You are a private equity firm, specialized on very sophisticated developments in very, I would not say complicated, but not usual destination. And I will not start. I will not start with Greece, but you are working on the Caribbean,
emerging.
and in Greece. This company was founded in 2004.
Correct.
Okay, and you have raised during that period more than 1.2 billion euro in equity. So we have here an investor quite familiar with specific and original development. Before we start the conference, general question, if any of you, or probably each of you, want to add a word of your company, happy to hear it. Of course, linked to the topics. And second things, what is your definition of the Mediterranean resort destination, resort or not resort destination? I think because when we prepare these meetings, we had various definitions, and probably the audience would be quite happy to listen to you. Again, ladies first. Yeah.
That's not good. Well, thank you so much first of all, for inviting me to this panel. As you well introduced us, we are a company that comes from the leisure segmentation of the market. It's true that at the present moment we are very much balanced between leisure and business hotel, more or less on a 50 basis, but our roots come from there. So I think the Mediterranean area is our home and where we come from, and we feel very comfortable with different type of deals in this kind of market. Meliá nowadays have more than 370 hotels. We're very proud to say that we have 8 brands to work with, depending on from very upscale, leisure, mid-scale segmentation, both in both type of markets. And for the leisure specific, we do have 6 brands that we can work on. So that's good, because at the end it gives us a very big scope of working and bringing possibilities for each particular project. As a matter of what what we said, well, it's true that this you introduced, so I can follow. I know this is a question that we have been requesting in the last days about this Starwood Capital deal. This is one of the matters we have just launched, but this is an example of what Meliá can propose to the market, which is to find an upscale on right location for managed products. So that's a huge, big opportunity for the Mediterranean itself. And for the Mediterranean, what is the definition? Well, we can go to the definition on geographical wise. So we're talking about South France, Spain, etc. But when we talk about Mediterranean, maybe we're talking about leisure itself, no? So we could talk about Canary Islands as well, for example. We could talk about Portugal. We could talk about some regions of North Africa. So I think it's a very unique scope and with a lot of possibilities at the present moment. I will pass the word because I can talk for for ages about this topic.
We'll be back.
Which way do you want to have it? Julien or myself?
No, yourself.
Yourself.
Please, Grégory.
You can both talk about it.
No, what you said about Club Med is, for me, quite true. There's just been an evolution in Club Med recently, which is we have now a major shareholder, which is called Fosun Group, which is a major Chinese private equity firm. And I think that is a very turning point for Club Med. And our strategy is now coming from being a specialist in all what you said to a worldwide leader in premium all-inclusive holidays. And when we say a worldwide leader, we have to state the 2 big jobs of Club Med, which makes it very specific. One, we are a resort operator, and we do only resort, ski resort, beach resort, a bit of country resort. And we believe that we have a specific product, which is a friendly, family, all-inclusive and premium product, indeed. And that's one part of our job and one part of our teams. And the other job of Club Med is on the other side, to be a tour operating company. And Club Med is settled in 35 countries in the world with sales offices and salespeople, which are approximately 1,000 people in the world. We are selling in the Americas area, and we've been selling there for the last 40 years. We are selling in Asia, and we've been selling there for the last 40 years or so, and we are selling, obviously, in Europe. And that's the combination of all these markets that we believe is the success of our business model and will be the success of European destinations, potentially, and Mediterranean destinations. About the definition of these Mediterranean destinations, indeed, when we prepared the conference, we realized, we all know that you cannot compare Italy with Tunisia, that you cannot compare Morocco or Algeria with Spain or Portugal, and that there is a very big number of different situations in these markets. So I'm not sure the answer will be the same for each of these destinations, and all of these destinations don't have this depth issue that is the thematic of the conference, which is what after the debts. But we'll try to give answers or ideas on all these different possibilities.
Julien?
My turn?
Yeah.
I joined Aman very recently, and basically the Aman story, Aman Group was founded in '88 by a gentleman named Adrian Zecca, and he created what is, I think, undisputedly the ultra upscale hotel business in the world. I don't think anybody can claim that they have better hotels than Aman, and which makes us a niche player.
Media.
No.
Sorry.
It was an easy joke, and also Club Med, but the only person that can really claim is Yanis, because he owns 2 hotels of Aman, so I guess you can claim the same. We have 28 hotels in the world in 20 countries, and basically our speciality, our story is it was purchased 9 months ago by a private individual that is going to, let's say, awaken the sleeping beauty. It's been 6 years since this company hasn't done anything. And the exciting thing about Aman now is, first of all, we are specialized in resorts because 27 of our properties out of 28 are resorts. But we opened our first urban project in Tokyo. And therefore, the way forward is to accompany our guests that go on vacation in our resorts into the urban environment so that they can have the urban Aman experience. So that's why I joined the team, to be able to spearhead that change, I would say, and this new dynamic within the company. For us, the Mediterranean region is the same. We have North Mediterranean and South Mediterranean, and there are two different parts of the world for us, even though it's the same sea, because we have only 1 resort in Morocco, and we already have 6 or 5 in northern part of the Mediterranean. Therefore, the codes and the compliance of these 2 areas are completely different. So we can address it later on why and where, but in the ultra-high luxury market, the European Mediterranean is much more appealing than the southern Mediterranean.
Thank you. Yanis, your view, the investor view?
First of all, quickly, with Dolphin in the last 8 years, almost of the inception of the company, the 2 partners identified back then a lack of a well-operated, branded product, both on the hotel side and the real estate side. So they raised the first fund, which was and is fully vested, mainly the Southeast Mediterranean. So we are experts today on that side of the region. We also have now a second fund, which is trying to acquire opportunistically opportunities, mainly in Greece and Cyprus, and it's relatively difficult taking into account the lack of, let's say, sellers in the region. Now, for us, the definition, it's a very big sea. Each market is different. Each country is different. We know our side, which has many issues, problems, and mainly lacks of infrastructure and a longer season. So that's, a bit of our view.
Okay. Thank you. We have decided to be quite pragmatic for this session and go through your project. And next question is, what's keeping you busy at the moment? What kind of obstacle you face to expand your brand, your property? And we will cover, I would say, all what you could have in mind: development complexity, legal complexity, investment and return complexity, if it is always complex. Well, if we can go through example and concrete things to put some clarity in the development in the future of this destination and resorts. Who wants to start?
I will, so that
Yes.
for once
I
we
can
free
hear
you from the first.
Thank you so much.
No, the first thing about all this is I remember fully a conference we had 2 years ago with Yanis here in Berlin. The conference was about Greece. It was an afternoon. I came into the room. There was 5 panelists, and there was 2 attendees. So we transformed the panel into a round table. Which at least made one deal, because we then with Yanis decided to do a Club Med together in Greece, 2 Club Med in Greece. So with the people that I see in the room, I want to say that I feel more confident than before entering the room on the fact that
That's it.
that there is a future for these destinations. I feel more confident. But I must say that on the short term, I'm deeply concerned by the Mediterranean destinations, short to mid-term, because indeed, in the various projects that we have, at least north of Mediterranean, we have, and I think most of the developers or the operators have faced very strong difficulties. At least in the resort side of the business, which are linked to several aspects of our European situation. You've got a difficulty with the market. If you look at November and December last year, the French individual travel spending of French people have decreased by 15% in November and December 2014. And this is not the first time it does so. It has been doing so for the last 5 years. So I believe that the first difficulty is the markets. The people that we're sending to these places has not been good markets. Then you had the problematics that have been building up for the last decades, which are the administrative problematics to develop properties, beachfront properties in the northern Mediterranean Sea. That's another problematic that we've seen. The third one that we've seen is the financial problematics of the countries in which we want to develop resorts. Dolphin is doing things in Greece on resort side, but I believe that you're quite the only ones really being very active, or who have been very active over the last 5 years permanently. So that's also another issue. So that is a very bad and pessimistic view of all this. The positive view is that this destination, and we all know Mediterranean Sea are the best destination we can find. Europeans will always continue to go to this destination because they are the sweetest during summer. And at one stage, we will have European guests. There are wealthy European guests that are continuously going on holidays. That's a positive thing. And there is a stronger appetite, growing stronger appetite of institutional investors into resorts in the Mediterranean. And we've experienced it for the last 1 year or something. So that gives me confidence over the mid to long term. But I must say that the short term is still very concerning for Mediterranean destination, at least northern Mediterranean.
Thank you. We will come back to the investor profile, because I think the one probably we are familiar with are probably very, I would say, passive investor, where they give you confidence, but they are not at risk, I think. And in other different profile of company, there is some probably investors who are happy to take some risk, and specifically on the real estate side.
From my side, if I may, because of following Gregory's explanation, from our side as a group, we see it's true that the northern African countries have an stability, and that has brought to the table other opportunities for the rest of the Mediterranean. The reality is that countries as, for example, Spain and Portugal and Italy, somehow we are facing a booming on the leisure segmentation, meaning because there are mature markets where the crisis has made us to think about, to reposition what we have there. So the good thing about all this crisis and the problems in North Africa, etc., is that the people that we play in these kind of markets, as for example Meliá, we have seen the opportunity, the niche, to develop those markets further with new concepts, as we have launched different types of brands ourselves. And we have found a lot of friends there, a lot of investors, as you were mentioning, having appetite for these kind of products. Why? Because these products are in safe locations with security there, which are hotels that need a complete capex renovation, needs a complete repositioning. So if you have the appetite of investing, at the end of the day, is the best deal you can do, because the yields are and the margins are high. The security of the market is there. So even though in the Mediterranean you have two tiers, you have the North African problems, which comes and go back and forward for all the time. And now it's down, but it will come up, and after it will go down, probably. So that's a fact. So, but that has made the rest of the destination, made in the North Mediterranean, to react in positive, to give something different to the market. And I think this is what, at least for Meliá, is taking us busy. We are trying to reposition assets owned by Meliá or owned by third parties, to reposition them with investor partners, to bring to the table a new destination or a new service style for the clientele. And this is something that we're doing quite successfully at this moment, and I think that has been a good opportunity. I'm pretty sure that it will come in Greece as well. Maybe in a medium term, maybe you can bring more input on that. But I'm positive to think that in the North European countries, this relationship with the crisis and all what had happened has made us to react, and there are a lot of opportunities in the market at the moment.
Thank you.
I mean, we don't really see them in Greece, or in Cyprus at least, because there are opportunities, but there is a misconception, especially from the seller's side, on how much their assets value is. So eventually this will come in Greece in the coming months or years, but we are not there yet. We're not there yet.
I've seen that in Spain the last year.
Yeah.
It was a 7 years crisis.
We are in 5. We only have 5. We only have 5.
Be patient, be patient.
Yeah. So, other than that, the crisis has effectively helped a bit on the development side, meaning it is relatively easier, and the previous governments have established reforms and permitting policies which can accelerate in a way or another the development of greenfield projects. And that is effectively positive, despite the fact that you still need to spend a lot of time on administration, begging, chasing the bankers, getting papers, and things which unfortunately don't really help you, take your projects forward faster.
Okay, I heard that there is not many investors around prepared to invest in the resort destination, so you are in a quite
if you come to
comfortable
Greece,
situation.
if you come to Greece, there is this very nice hotel, Grand Bretagne, so you will find them all in there, all with money going around. But I think that is the case everywhere. I heard that there are many also in the planes going back and forth from London to Madrid. But effectively, I think that the international attention the last years were on these countries, because it's obvious after all these years of recession, the opportunities were supposed to be there. The way the economies work, though, for the time being at least, make that the opportunities are not there, and the deals have not been done or announced. They were very specific ones.
Right.
I think for us, I mean, in Amman, the issue about the North Med or the South Med is really a question of value versus volume. And in our case, all the value is in North Mediterranean. The problem is exactly what you're saying, is the lack of opportunities and the seasonality, because this exists. And this is why, in our case, we're really positioning ourselves very upscale, first for value and not volume. The second thing is we always now combine our projects with mixed use, meaning real estate. And Yanis can talk about it a little bit better, even better than I, because he has a project that he's been developing over the few years. But we are able to sell real estate properties and service villas at about twice as high as the market, meaning that it really absorbs a large part of your hotel investment. And this is, for us, one of our unique selling points, because there's nobody in the market that's able to rival that. I mean, we sold properties they sold properties in Amanzoe, which were multiples of tens of millions of euros, which is really unbelievable. And this being said, this is the only way for us to be able to secure a profitable business model for our projects in the north of North Med. And this is what we're continuing to push forward. But the issue we're confronted with is the lack of opportunities, because there's a lot of projects already in the north of Mediterranean. So you need to find a proper one. But we are flexible if there are opportunities. We are flexible. For example, in Amanzoe, for example, the project is on top of a hill, and all of the beach club is on the beach. But there's a little bit of a distance between the two. This, for example, these guys would not tolerate it. We can do it because of the way we are managing the individuals. That's for the north side. The issue we have with North Africa is that there's a lack of visibility, and our guests have an issue about security. So they are outside of Morocco, where this country has been able to withhold its integrity and its appeal to the upscale clients. All of the rest, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, and even Egypt, right now, it's very difficult to attract very upscale people to these destinations for security reasons, and then the financial lack of visibility, etc. But the mixed-use formula in Northern Europe is the only way forward for upscale projects, and a lot of projects actually, because of seasonality.
Okay, so if we have to summarize, where are the opportunities, when it will happen? Are you more focusing on existing destination, established destination, secure destination, or do you think there is still some more destination to explore, opportunity in terms of specific and unique site? What is your priority? And then we will focus on, I think, the financial structuration and the mixed-use development. And if you agree, we would like to explore some business case, probably some you have in the past, very successful one. Please talk also about the poor one and the one you are working on for the future. And I think most of you have explored, the classical hotel development, plus some real estate villa to be sold. I think you have done that, Amman for sure, Club Med for sure, but not in that region. But you can certainly give us some feedback about those experiences. Yourself too, yes. And Yanis will be where the investor eyes, and see how you share your risk between the hotel components and probably the real estate development.
In terms of destination, where we strongly believe is the one that can work, are the one that can be international, not only one market. That's very important. Then the ones that can be not so far from an international airport, then that shortens the list already. Pristine sites for Club Med, we are talking about 15 hectares, because we tend and we want people to have the ability to walk around. So when you put these elements all together, and looking for a piece of land that is at a reasonable price, that sometimes somehow makes the list even shorter. I must say that the best sites on which Club Med is working today are sites that were preempted by Club Med 50 years ago for doing a Club Med. Probably one of the most beautiful places we're working on right now is Kos property in Greece, or is Cefalou property in Sicily. These are amazing properties that were developed by Club Med 50 or 60 years ago, and thanks to this, we're protected. And we are now redeveloping this place. And I think that quite a few of the work we have to do on the Mediterranean Sea these days, and then the destinations, are about taking over properties and turning them to something that is up to date and fit for the international markets. To these places, we have on our side the intention to obviously bring the European guests, but also bring Asians that we already bring to our ski, our resort destination in the ski. We opened 3 years ago. It's in Italy, a ski resort in Italy. I'm not sure it qualifies for our Mediterranean talk, but we opened the Pragelotto Resort in Italy. The first week of opening of this ski resort for Club Med, we had 150 Singaporean guests. I must say that for the Italian mayor of Pragelotto, seeing a Singaporean was a first in his life. But then that's how you make the business today. So you have the European guests, but then you try and bring the Asian guests. I believe that Sicily can welcome Asian guests. We believe that Turkey can welcome Asian guests also. And by balancing these two type of populations, that's where you can definitely make money. So I would say, where are the opportunities? Probably in places where we have had already some business.
Are we moving in those Mediterranean destinations from the mass market business to the more luxury, or in a strong way?
That's me. So luxury.
Yes, I know.
So don't ask
Premium,
me a
I'm
question.
premium, I'm
He's
premium, I'm premium.
I'm luxury, so don't.
Yeah,
She has
Yeah,
both, so
that's
go
right,
ahead.
yeah.
You can answer.
and Yanis is doing premium also, so,
No, we try to buy not premium as well,
but to magnify them.
to magnify it.
Definitely.
Maria, your experience.
No, from our side, our experience at the moment is that we're very flexible on square meters, because we do large hotels, but we do small hotels as well. We have different type of brands for each type of segmentation. We go from mid-scale to luxury. So at the end, we are quite flexible on that. Our experience is that now we are more on repositioning of existing assets than new developments. And we are finding more funds.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
Very, very frequently, when you reposition an asset, is to the grade, to the upper grade. No. Sorry,
When I'm talking about repositioning is to get more profit from that asset. Okay. So, for example, in Magaluf, that I think is a location quite known international-wise because of the situation with the bars and all of that, we found out there that we have a lot of interest. We own a lot of assets there. So what we did, for example, is on the assets we had in the beach of Magaluf, we completed with other assets. They were more on the 3 bases, 2 bases star rating, and we're repositioning them in all kind of products. We did a Me product, which is lifestyle 5-star type of product. We did a Soul House linked with Wave House, which is a surfing type of 4-star base party time type of product. We have a family product, which is Sol Kamandu, that is linked to entertainment. So what we're trying is, with the products that we see in the market, to try to find the best spot for them. Sometimes it's to go higher, but sometimes it's just to offer differently on the same segmentation to increase RevPAR and finally bottom line. Okay. New developments, of course, is fantastic because you can implement all your brand standards. But in our experience nowadays, it's more difficult to find financing for these kind of products. We are finding more financing for construction, for existing hotels where the period of construction is lower. Mm-hmm. So at the end, the returns are in a faster way.
Okay.
For me, I think from an investment perspective, everybody will tell you that opportunities will arise the day that the banks will decide to offload, assets from their balance sheet. So, and that is, I believe, all over the place, at least in the northern part of the Mediterranean, that investors are waiting for. Now, from a more touristic perspective, the opportunities, at least in the eastern part, like in Greece or eventually in Cyprus, are 2. The first is to create a new product, a better product, because today most of the tourism there relied on low budget, all-inclusive properties, which were competing with better ones in Turkey or in South Europe. So for me and for us, we believe a lot to the branding element and to the right operation of these properties. And so whether by buying and repositioning hotels or by building new ones. And it's interesting, but in Greece now, banks are way more open to finance purely hotel perspectives. The other is through the mixed-use properties, which remain challenging in their permitting. But on the really high end, like the Amanzo is a very good example, the really high end, you can attract better customers both in your hotel and your residential component, spending more than 6 or 7 times than the average tourist. And the key in all that, as you said, Julian, before, is seasonality, which is the main problem, I think, throughout the region. And to deal with it, you need to focus on structural infrastructure, whether this is highways, airports, or leisure components like marinas, golf, etc. But this is really a long-term view. For sure, these areas have so much history and so much beauty to show wherever they are that I think people from all over the place, we see that with Chinese now, we see a lot of Chinese in Greece recently, to want to come, visit, experience, and it is on us to create the right product, to make this experience even more interesting.
Okay, thank you.
On our side, we're focusing, basically, we have two levels. We have the urban development and we have the resort development. We're trying to create an Italian story, and I'm very happy that Giorgio Palmucci is in the room today, because I'm going to have to ask him to help me out a lot on this one. We have a Venice resort where most of you know that George Clooney got married there, and this is, that was our marketing. But he paid for the room, by the way, just for you to know. He paid for the room. 2 nights.
How much?
Huh? No. You want to know how much? I'll tell you also, but confidential. And we want to create an Italian story with Venice, Rome, and Venice, Tuscany, Rome, and a sea destination, because Italy has all of the attributes has culture, has beach, has food, has art, has wine, has everything. So this is really, for us, would be a guideline for us in Italy. We want to create in Greece an additional property on the islands, theoretically, because right now we're in Peloponnese, which is a fantastic site, but also a lot of people go to the islands, and this would be a good, dual destination. It's not one or the other, it's people will actually go to both. This is why we want to do that. And after that, we are desperate to find a place in Istanbul. So if anybody wants to do an Aman in Istanbul, try to get my phone number, and I will come to Istanbul tomorrow morning. And Beirut also, because it would be a fantastic Aman in Beirut, because it combines both the sea, the city, and Beirut has been on the map for thousands of years, and it would be a phenomenal place.
Well, what do you need, the site and the investor, or only the site?
Not necessarily the investor, first the site, because the problem with these destinations is the opportunities. I need a place where there's 20,000 square meters in Istanbul or in Beirut or even in Paris, by the way, but this is not South Mediterranean. But I need a building which is 20,000 square meters where I can do a hotel, but also real estate. And between the two, we'd make a good return with our partners. The backing today with Aman was desperate for lots of years because there was no money inside the company. Thankfully now it was purchased by a wealthy individual who has quite a lot of money, let's say. So if the opportunity is right, he would be a partner, he would co-invest, he would help out. But I learned this from my previous experience with Orascom and Club Med. You never go to a foreign country alone, so we would need a partner.
Okay. Thank you. Moving to any example of mixed-use developments, successful story. And in terms of structuration, what's the financial weight of the hotel components, the weighting of the villas? Who take the risk? Do you share the risk with the investor? Do you take the risk yourself? Well, happy to have some more details on that sort of.
Operators never take risks. It's well known.
No, I think it's a debate.
On the mixed use.
I'll say the contrary, because we developed in Valmorel, French Alps, a both-headed project with a pure resort, which we took as a lease agreement. So we took all the risk. And this was done with the Caisse des Dépôts et Consignations. The French had the local ski lift operator, so local partners. And on the side of it, Club Med took the real estate development, where we developed, we can develop up to 80 chalets. And we developed, I think, half of them, and we sold half of them. Around 500 to 700,000 euros, which would look cheap next to you, Julien, but which are really luxury properties already for the Alps, for normal people.
The size per square meter is very good.
And so Club Med took the property development risk on this one. But obviously we were in France, hometown, homeland, which made it possible. But at the end of the day, it makes the deal much more interested.
Tell me if you can't answer, but what's the profile of those investors? What kind of return did they get?
That's the beauty of it on these developments. What they get is mainly usufruct rights, but in an all-inclusive resort, which means that they have the food, the drinks, the shows, the sports, the all-inclusive ski facilities and everything. And during 5 to 6 weeks per year, and during the rest of the time, we rent the chalets, and they get a percentage of the turnover. So for us, it's the financial commitment is a pure variable commitment.
Okay.
And that's why we sell this investment to individual as an investissement pleasure investment, which is not a financial investment. If they buy a property with us, it's for the pleasure of using it and not of making money out of it, even if we make everything we can to have them money out of it also.
Okay, and this development is for you a way to diminish your risk, or is it the real manner to make profit at start? It is something which, well, in terms of weighting, is 10% of the global project there, or it is more than that?
There it's probably 15 to 20% of the capacity. It makes money up front, and then it makes variable lease, which is less risk. So it does both hands of the advantage. And I think it's.
Maria, so you say.
Well, we have this kind of experience. For example, it's a little bit far on it's not Mediterranean. In Cape Verde, we have. We're developing with Promote more than 1,000 keys, and in that case we do management, but what is in there is the sellers or the buyers are buying the condo pool. They buy a right of usage. It's a variable component as well. They get a return on that, and they have the right to use the units during a certain period of time. This, in our experience, what we have seen, this is a way of financing. So in some properties that we have is 100% of that. That's, for example, in Cape Verde. In others, it's a percentage. We do have as well other type of collaboration. For example, the vacation club, like the time-sharing type of business, which is another way of doing it. We have a lot of experience on residential with big houses in the Caribbean, for example, where we do the full promotion, and there you sell the units and you have the right of usage or not, depending on your interest. So it's something that is interesting, and it's coming a lot in the market now because of the conversion of units, more in some locations from apartments to hotel experience. Yep. So in there you have the mix of both good things, and you have another way of financing as well.
Okay, so it's a very flexible way to approach it.
Yeah, you have several ways to do it. You can do condo, you can do vacation, you can do selling and branded residence, so a la carte services. There are a lot of ways to do it, and it's a successful mix.
It works.
Yeah, it works for sure.
Okay.
I think Actually, what you were saying, what are the do's and don'ts? The problem is when you do a mixed-use project, you need to decide what you are. Are you a hotel company or are you a developer? Because the issue is once you're a hotel company, you cannot be a successful promoter. And if you're a promoter, you're definitely not a good hotelier. Because, so when you want to do a mixed-use project, you need to make sure, what we try to do now is that there's a minimum capacity for the hotel so that the hotel can be fairly self-sustainable. And the villas, they come as an add-on. Because the issue that we're facing is that if you want to do the hotel 100% condo, then you're faced with many, many complications because when the owners want to use them, you don't have enough capacity, your hotel doesn't run a proper GOP, and you can't furnish it the way you want, etc. So the idea for us is to have a minimum of a hotel capacity dedicated to the hotel. And then you have your promoting your villas, your real estate, your apartments, whatever you want, as an additional way to do money. When you start mixing the two, and I've done it once, it's a mess. Because then the hotelier wants to build, usually the developer wants to build off-plan, because you're not going to create capacity and put yourself, and build inventory. So you don't want that. But the hotelier here, he will say, well, build it for me. I need it for my capacity. So then automatically the conflict of interest arises. So the best way is to split. And as everybody's saying, then the way you do your business afterwards with the owners, there's hundreds of ways to do it. We, as Aman, being very upscale, we keep it very, very flexible. There are no constraints to our owners. They can do whatever they want, give it back, not 1 day, 2 days, 10 days. They call it 3 days in advance. It's really, really, really flexible. When you bought a property at 15 million euros, you don't want to be limited to 5 weeks usage. It doesn't make sense.
So Yanis, when you are following Aman,
just explained that.
Yes, but you are the investor of the hotel side, or you are the investor on the real estate side, or both? Both.
But as Julien said, the idea is that you have a hotel which, in theory, breaks even, okay, and then you focus all your effort in selling the real estate. Now, at least for the future, in our region, there is, in my opinion, only one resort, mixed-use resort, which really did well in pre-crisis, which was in Cyprus, Aphrodite Hills. We basically try to develop more like this. And we see also quite a lot of, a lot no, but we see interest from international groups, institutional investors to invest. So we recently did a deal with Colony Capital for the financing of future phases of Amanzoe.
As a financing?
Yeah, it was financing. We saw recently in Costa Navarino a major Greek resort already operating leisure components with a capital increase of a Middle Eastern group, very powerful to develop the real estate there. But yeah, effectively, the residential part is an add-on, and you definitely try to keep your hotel, self-sufficient.
Okay. Why do you focus on so complicated kind of assets, activities? The higher return? Your test for the risk?
It's not only the returns, which, by the way, can be pretty significant, especially if you take into account the prices that the land has been bought in some of these areas where, in Porto Heli, where we developed Amanzoe, they could never imagine that they would be able to create this kind of branded product and selling at prices today 3 and 4 times higher than what the rest of the houses around are sold by Greek owners. The other reason we like this is because it's nice. It's an interesting way to support your economy, to do a better product, and to make it more complicated. It's a product which, unfortunately, in Greece, is missing. And someone needs to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Just one thing on the Chinese purchasing real estate. We've got quite a few European countries giving a resident permit to Chinese, provided that they purchase some real estate. to date, we've not seen any real project based on this, so I haven't yet seen.
In Portugal, I think.
In Portugal, resort
Portugal
one?
and Cyprus.
And Cyprus.
Basically, these countries use the policies around the golden visas, as they call, to offload the stock of houses, but small houses, which were in big resorts to provide passports.
Because it's above 400
And
or
the rest is
500,000.
permanent.
Doesn't work for your villas.
Depends if they
No, it does, it does.
if they group
If
together.
they group
by
together.
one, you know.
21 villas.
21 million.
Can work. Okay.
Last question is about sharing the risk with the investor and the operator. Sometimes you rent, sometimes you manage. Julien, you are only managing property. I think you don't rent.
No, we actually, the Tokyo one, we rent. But,
Okay, sorry.
Hopefully,
So-
hopefully we'll stop doing that.
My question is, do you decide to rent or to manage, or is it the investor decision to ask for a strong guarantee or
It's a
tell
joint
me-
decision.
it's a joint decision?
Well,
Okay.
first of all, we are in a policy or a strategy of asset light. So our first preference is management agreements, not really franchise. We're very much into the management type of company. But we are quite flexible if we see the business on a win-win basis situation. We have done different type of deals. At the end, for example, in Spain, you have some assets that there's some type of investment product with Socimi where you need a lease, but it can be a completely variable lease. So there are kind of possibilities there. Who chooses what? It depends on the location, product, and the partnership. So I would say that as an operator, we want to invest in management tools, which is branding, distribution, etc. But we are very open to find solutions for the best option for each property.
Thank you.
On Club Med side, but that would be the positive ending to the discussion. I started with the bad one. But for the future, and we feel confident about the European destinations. And we have taken quite a few lease agreements in Europe, and we're continuing to take quite a few lease agreements in Europe. We do also management agreements on top of this, but we are indeed very open. As a tour operator, we master the distribution. We don't use online travel agent at all. So we know what kind of guests we can bring to what kind of destination. So once we know this, sharing the risk is also sharing the profit. So sometimes we prefer to keep more profit and not share the risk. So it depends.
No, I understand. I remember Accor, when it was probably 6 or 7 years ago, Accor was saying that they are quite happy to lease because they keep the profit. When they are in a very secure position, they prefer to lease. Well, that strategy have evolved, but
No, but
it was the reality, it was the economical reality.
But to be fair, I mean, as an owner, I think giving your property, the only reason as an owner you give your property as a lease is because the banks request it. Because as an owner, you basically forfeit half of your value to the operator, which I think is ridiculous. So for me, as an owner, I would never give a lease. I would rather take the risk because you know what you get into. And it's the only reason that you do a lease is because of the banks, because the banks are all scared and they're risk averse. So they want some sort of second guarantee on top of the asset. But having a lease on your asset as an owner, you basically have given half of the value of your property to the operator. Why?
I think that Maria put it correctly. It's all about location. Meaning, if you want to develop a hotel in Greece, somewhere remotely in Crete or whatever, they will never align with you. You might get some sweeteners and you get them now. Before it was impossible. Now, if you have a nice hotel property downtown, I don't know, Paris, it's a completely different story. And despite the fact, sometimes they do invest or they buy the hotel afterwards, as we saw with Mandarin, I mean, in the high end or not. They will find the operators' ways to get the deal done. But it's all about where the project is and who the owner is. Yeah.
We can be very creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 minutes more, so if you have anything to add, or if there is any question from the audience, happy to.
My name is Antonio Trindade. I'm president of a small Portuguese group, Porto Bay, who's based in Madeira, has hotels in Algarve, in Lisbon, Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and Búzios. So I think when we are talking about north and south, I think for the time being, it's important that we concentrate a bit more on east and west, because as Mary was mentioning, she already referred Cape Verde, we would refer Canary Islands, we would refer Madeira, and altogether, these islands in the Atlantic, which are in the same market as Mediterranean, represents over 500,000 beds, but with occupancies year-round. So it means, as an investment point of view, I would almost evaluate twice the beds in the island. So it means we are talking about universes different. And the thing is, the trend is in fact a bit more west and east, because the flight time from moving to west and east is quite similar, which is not exactly when we are talking north and south. And there's something that I think I was expecting to listen a bit more here. It's about what is the consolidated market arising from the new concept of transportation. Because when I'm landing in Barcelona and I see 90 Vueling flights, or when I'm landing in other ports and I start seeing these point-to-point operations, I have 3 5-star hotels where my clients come very often from EasyJet, from Vueling, from Ryanair, because they are looking for the experience at the destination. And I think that's when we are talking about investment in investment terms. I think we have been too much territorial. Means the West has been thinking based on Western funds, and the East has been very much based on Eastern funds. When you are talking about resorts, and this is a different policy, I know by my own company, which is urban and which is in fact resort. But when you start having resorts with 92% occupancy here, when 5-star hotels start moving from 10% on a deconsolidated market to 50% deconsolidated market, something is changing. And this changing in the islands, changing in southern Portugal, and definitely changing in the Mediterranean. And that means, I think it's a time, Marie, you were mentioning very well something before. The main problem in the Mediterranean is that Spain and Portugal and Italy, we came earlier. So that means all our products were based on the 70s, on the 80s.
Exactly.
The thing is, the possibility of investing in East has been cheaper, returnings higher, and the verticalization was much more there than in the West. So it means it forced us to be much more self-dependent. The only thing is right now, a requalification cost is lower than doing something new. And I would say return on investment wise, it is, because because I'm talking about year 2015. I cannot compare the Eastern situation of 2008 with the Western situation just to 2015. I think let's put on the same date and let's face exactly at the same time, the same opportunities. And with this deconsolidated market, with something important, is that the West is getting very quickly prepared to start putting offers on the origins with the flight, with the land arrangements, and with the hotels. That means a strength which really needs to be, in fact, seen by the investors in the new opportunities, which means that I think was the title of this meeting right now is looking at the Mediterranean, which I would say is broader, but the opportunities in the Western Mediterranean, it's getting very interesting. Sorry, I just...
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any comments?
Well, I would like to, because I think that it's very linked to what I was trying to explain before about the repositioning, because we came first to this game, and there are a lot of, there is a moment of opportunity in our part of the world. There are a lot of assets that can be repositioned in different kind of segmentations, and I think we have to do it, because now we had a very good moment, for example, in Algarve or in Canary Islands, etc., because of the northern political situation. But if we don't prepare ourselves when they come up, they play on price. So we should be strong there, and that's what the market is pushing, to requalificate and to have the best offer as we can.
Well, we have a project in Portugal for Naman, so hopefully we'll also push the project near Lisboa. You know it. It's in Comporta, you know? No?
Yeah, because our leading is the Cliff Bay in Madeira.
Okay.
Which is then the other.
Very nice property.
And we just opened our new 5-star in Lisbon
Cool.
Okay.
last week.
Very good.
Any other question?
I would like to take the opportunity, and I thank you very much for your speech, because we are developing a Mediterranean resort and hotel real estate forum in November in Madrid with these organizers here in Berlin, but specifically because they identify the need of talking about the Mediterranean market. And one of our main discussions is what is really, or where is really the Mediterranean market? What are we talking about? So, and these, most of these speakers here are heavily involved with us in developing this forum, and I invite you to come for sure. And I think we are trying just to have all these and many other conversations that we didn't have time to, or many other topics for discussion, but we really think it's the moment to have and to identify the issues of every single, and I think there is an important issue raised today, which is we are talking probably about destinations more even than Western, Eastern, North or South, but probably we can identify groups for discussions. But anyway, we believe we have many things to talk about in this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. The last question, and we close in a minute.
Question for the members of the panel. I mean, I know it's us, just your view on Turkey in terms of resorts, in terms of where it is in the supply dynamics, and also opportunities for future development. Just curious, Antalya,
About Turkey and Antalya.
I didn't hear it.
Turkey, yeah.
Definitely, but it's definitely a great destination with great people, with low costs in terms of operating costs, great accessibility, especially in Antalya, a great season, especially in Antalya. So if you put all these together, it's definitely a place to make a profitable resort and to make a profitable business in the Mediterranean Sea. No debate about this. Now, the one or two concern is what has been done in the last 20 years. There are a lot of places that I think today we would not do like this again, that have been wasted, but there are nice places also. And the other thing is the current Turkish situation is a concerning situation in terms of investment. If you're not a Turkish going to Turkey and investing in Turkey in a resort in Antalya, it's probably a tough call. But there is a high reward. So it's as usual, high risk, high reward. And in this case, in Turkey, in Antalya, I believe that there is a high reward to be taken. But it's going to be a tough thing. And we're currently, we have 3 resorts in Turkey, and we're working on developing a 4th one, because definitely in terms of business model, it works.
We have a small exposure there. I personally believe that Turkey, there is a graph showing the difference between the 80s and now of the amount of tourists going into Greece, Croatia, and Turkey. So in the 80s, Greece was basically the main player, and today Turkey is 2 times bigger than Greece and Croatia together. So it's definitely the best, I mean, a case study on how they developed infrastructure, how they developed golf, how they developed, they beat seasonality, they get people all the year round. The only, I guess, issue they need to be cautious about is about about destroying the place itself, you see, with over construction, etc. But it's definitely the main market, I mean, for sure.
Maria, thank you. Julien, thank you. Grégory, thank you. Yannick, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.